Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you?
Well, I'm fine.
Good.
I'm I just realized after we recorded the last episode, it was also last Monday that I was not well. So
Wow, so
I'm
it's just like 6 episodes in a row of you being ill.
yes. So if you've made it this far, it's episode 5, you're almost done. Probably. I'm probably not gonna be sick, hopefully the next time we record. So just hang in there, it's fine. But I'm also like exhausted because my life is insane. I know I talked about working a lot last week, but like Saturday, I worked a 13-hour day, um, which like during the week I'll do like 16 or 17-hour days between both jobs sometimes. But like
Yeah.
it's the end of my week. It was like my 80th hour. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it alive. I pulled something in my hip because I'm 95 and
My knee gave out 5 times on stairs today.
I like stood up on Saturday morning and almost fell over
I
because my
was like,
hip hurt.
I almost fell down the stairs and Doug was at the bottom of the stairs at work and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No." Apparently, being 30 and in decently I was like, I'm only 30 years old. I am not massively overweight or out of shape. I do not play contact sports and I have not been in any like physical accidents recently.
Right,
So why can my knee literally not take me downstairs?
right. And why can't my hip stand me up? I don't know. It has very few jobs. And that's one of them, just to make sure I don't fall over when I stand up. But yeah, so I was dealing with that while I was at my 13-hour day. And it was insane. It was SantaCon, ugh, which we didn't really have that many Santas, but we were so busy. And then everyone was just acting insane. And then we had a party of like 80, 85 people. And I just did it by myself with Brian because I was like, I can't with you people. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna stay here and do just this party, me and Brian. Please figure out the other 6 tables. It's only 6 tables.
Yeah.
And it's like during theater time. So it's not even like busy tables. It's just
Right.
like tables. Figure everything else out. If you need stuff, go to the front bar. There's 2 other bartenders on the other end. We're just gonna be here. And people kept like bringing empty glasses to the service station that we were working. I was like, you're not even down here. Why are you
Go
bringing
away.
glasses from the front? Put them in the front. Like we literally were like getting drink orders, and then Brian was making drinks, and I was circulating them for 4 hours straight. Like they just kept drinking. There was not a moment where I just stood there and waited.
Good.
And
Good.
which like is good. It was good money. They ended up spending like 2,000 more than they anticipated, and good for me. But like it was just an insane day. And I was just like, as soon as I got out of the party, everybody's like, can we help you clean it? I was like, go home. I
Hmm.
don't want anyone else here anymore. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm done with you not helping me and being in the way. I would just like you to leave me alone while I clean up after everything now. Like, please leave me be. So I had to get off till almost 3 because I did have other tables. Like, we cut the second person. I was the third person. So we cut the second person. And I had to help tables and stuff.
Yeah.
It was mostly my theater people, which was nice. So then Saturday I tried to go to the theater and I was so tired. I like literally slept until it was time for me to get up to go to the theater. And then I went to the theater in the rain. I was eating these I got this Universal Yums box and it had these apple pie cookie bites. And I was just like walking in the rain eating my apple pie cookie bites while I was going to the theater because I was like, I need to eat something. It's like 2 o'clock and I haven't eaten today. And I got to the theater and we watched 1776, which the direction was interesting. The acting was incredible, was really good, and it was mostly incredible. It was a cool show. I'd never seen it before. Um, they just made some choices that I
The
made.
one where they like used like blind gender and race for all the Founding Fathers, or is that a different
Yes,
production?
it's that one. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
That wasn't really a problem for me.
No, I had read an article about that recently, and I was like, is that the one that I'm thinking of?
Yeah, that's all I knew about it going in. Like,
Okay.
but I
Yeah.
heard some people like they come to the bar a lot, so they're really nice. So I was like, it was like for the most part they were like good at acting. It was just
No,
weird vibes.
I read an interview with one of the girls in the show, and it came off very not good.
Interesting. I haven't read. I don't read a lot of the
No, like what the like I read it and was like, oh, I don't like that girl.
Hmm.
And I don't remember who it was or what the interview just said. I just only remember it was that production, and I did not
Well,
like
I
the
can
interview.
vouch that everyone in this show is incredibly nice because they did their opening party at our bar, and so I've met them.
Okay.
They are incredibly nice, but that was probably just a bad day. But yeah, so then I did that, and then I came home and went back to sleep. And then I woke up and watched like 3 episodes of X Files, went back to sleep. And fun fact about X Files, our favorite doctor, Dr. Janet, was on the episode I watched, and she plays a nurse.
What season are you on of X-Files?
I'm at the end of season 2. Nope, I'm at the middle of season 2, but I'm season 2.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
That,
like
it,
it's like Stargate.
that is relevant for for this episode of
Oh, okay. But yes, it
um
was so that was fun. I enjoyed seeing Dr. Janet in the wild. Um, but yeah, so how are you?
I am gearing up for like the worst week of my life.
Great, same.
Um Yesterday when I was saying goodbye to Dan, I genuinely started crying because I realized I'm not going to see him until Saturday.
Oh,
Which I know that's stupid and it's only 5 days, but like I don't, I've never gone that long without seeing him. And the fact that I can't see him because I'm so busy is like also overwhelming.
great.
But like, I work, for those of you who don't know, I literally work 10-hour days every day at school. Um, because I work from 7 to 5 every day, which only is as overwhelming as it is when you think about the fact that that means I'm with children
Yeah,
for those 10 hours straight.
right.
Um, and then obviously today I'm here doing this. And then tomorrow after work, I basically have to go to bed because then I will not sleep for the rest of the week. Because Wednesday, I work till 5, and then I have a date with my favorite Canadian, Tyler. Tyler's coming to visit me because Dan has rehearsal, and it is Wednesday, and it is our theater night. And Dan has rehearsal, so I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I take someone else?" And he was like, "Obviously not. You bought the tickets. You can do whatever you want with them since I can't go." And I was like, "Hey," and it was Tyler's birthday, so I texted him. I was like, how, sir, would you feel about coming to be my favorite Canadian with me and go see Come From Away?
You're gonna cry. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
cry.
cry. I'm gonna cry. So Wednesday, Tyler and I are seeing Come From Away.
Oh, that's
And then I have to leave work at school early Thursday because I work Come From Away Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday morning. Then I'm going to see a concert of Dan's Saturday night. Then I work a local show, All Is Calm, like it's a story about the 1914 like Christmas truce in World War One. It's a play about that. I work that Sunday morning, and I may or may not have to go to a party with Dan's mom and sisters on Sunday night. So
that sounds super fun.
it's just and then I'll immediately just go back to work Monday morning.
Yeah.
So like none of it is really like bad. It's just so much. And my school is one of the districts that goes to school all the way till the 23rd.
Which is a lot.
It is a lot. So I have all of this that I've already just said, plus teaching a full week next week.
You got this. I have all the faith in the world in you. But you don't have to record next week
That's true. I don't have to record next week,
because we are so caught up.
and I don't work at Shays at all next week.
You're gonna sleep so much, like next week. Don't even worry about it. You just have to push through this week.
No, and I scheduled multiple doctor's appointments like at like 5 o'clock so that I would have to leave work on time to go and then go home.
Good for you.
Right. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
Yeah.
You know what else is gonna be fine?
What is that?
Our spiritual well-being.
You know, that's a strong statement to say it's fine. But what I will say is, once I open it back up, if no one comes from the future to stop you from doing it, then how bad of a decision can it really be?
Very bad.
No, this is your spiritual affirmations. I'm affirming you.
You're affirming
You don't question the spirituality.
you're
You should,
affirming my poor life choices. I love it.
yes, you're welcome. I
Thank
admire it.
you.
That's what I'm
You know what else is a poor life choice?
here. Spending the next 23 years of our life talking about Stargate. JK, that's actually very fun.
Particularly though, this episode.
This
Stargate.
this notebook, not my left notebook.
Because I don't did you enjoy this episode?
Um, I had a lot of reactions to this episode
Okay.
that don't. mm, my brain made this episode better than it was, I think.
Okay.
So I didn't hate
Um,
it. I
okay.
had a lot of feelings though.
Good. So we're talking about Stargate SG1 Season 2, Episode 20. It's called Show and Tell, which let me just say right now, dumbest fucking title I've ever heard.
Very much. Very much.
It was rated 7.5 stars.
Which is like point 0.1 below last episode, right? Or was it the episode before? That I was like, this feels a little low.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen this episode, that definitely feels a little low and this feels a little high.
Yeah. I think 7.5 would be fine if there weren't other things that were also rated in the high sevens that I don't agree with. Because I think 7.5 is just like,
Meh.
it's meh. And I think this episode was meh.
Yeah.
So, it came out on February 26th, 1999. The number one movie had gone back to Payback, which was that Mel Gibson one that we talked about. It was up and then it was not, and then it was up again.
I called someone and was like, hey, why am I off the charts? And they're like, oh, we'll put you right back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, probably left a voicemail. That was scary.
I bet so.
The number one song was still Angel of Mine by Monica.
Oh, you should listen to it one day.
One day. Maybe when it stops being the song on the playlist, I'll finally listen to it. The number one book was The Testament by John Grisham.
I can very vividly see the cover of that book, and I have not read it.
As I was doing the research for this, I go, hey Dan, have you ever read anything by John Grisham? And he was like, yeah. And I go, cool. What can you tell me about it? Because I sure haven't.
I think I've read a John Grisham book before.
Dan said they were good. I mean, and obviously, like, I know the name. John Grisham's probably like one of the most popular, like, prevalent writers of like the 90s and 2000s that everybody knows their name.
Right, right.
This one, actually, I started to read about this title and now I'm like very interested. Like when I read the like description of this book, I'm very interested and now I feel like I should just read John Grisham books with all the free time I have.
Mhm.
Um, but it's about a man who commits suicide with a fake will.
Mhm.
It's like he's mad at his family and like some fucked up shit. And that it sounded very fascinating.
Yep, yep. That tracks.
It sounded like the Weston game or like and then there were none, but like more fucked up.
I haven't read either of those yet. But
But
we've definitely talked about that fact that I haven't read either of those before. I own
we
an Inferno. I just haven't read it yet.
well, I'm currently teaching these of those books.
Okay.
So um I found absolutely nothing about this day.
Great.
Like to the point where I created a Wall Street Journal account just to like look at archived headlines because I wanted to know something about this day. Um, and the only thing I could find was that there was a huge article in the international section of the Wall Street Journal about the fact that rumors of a new Disney property were stopping an economy from tanking. And that rumor was about an opening of a Disney park in Hong Kong.
Oh, how fun.
And this was in February of 1999. In June of 2003, they finally broke ground.
How
Which
fun.
means, but if the groundbreaking was in June of 2003, they probably ended up buying the property sometime in 2000.
One or two, yeah.
Yeah. So it was very not a very, they were, those rumors were founded in a lot of reality.
Yeah.
So that was exciting because I was like, hey, I've been there.
Yes. You did a whole walkthrough.
I did on Facebook Live. It was beautiful.
Very fun. I watched it.
This episode was directed by Peter DeLuise.
You said
Like I
that really
said,
quickly. I was like, who is this person?
no, like I said last week, he's here to stay.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
It was written by Jonathan Glassner, and the story editor was Tor Alexander Valenza. So both names that we have had already. For the guest star, I will be talking about Jeff Golka.
I know that this makes no sense, but I thought you were about to say Jeff Goldblum, and I was like, what? It was definitely not.
Yes, yes. Um, Also, Jeffs that are irrelevant. I don't know when during the year Time Magazine announces its Person of the Year, but it was in 1999. Every time I try to look for information about any of the days that any of these episodes air, it just wants me to know about the Time Person of the Year from 1999, which remember, 1999 is 23 years ago. Times Person of the Year was fucking Jeff Bezos.
Of course it was. Good for
Of
him.
course it was.
Getting ready to take over
Um,
the world.
yeah. But so Jeff Golka is our guest star. He was, in fact, 12 years old when this episode came out. He was born in 1987. He is best known for The X-Files, but he won't be in it till season 5. So
Oh, I'm not there
that's
yet.
why I asked where you were.
Oh no, I watched the exact same episode every night this week until Sunday because I kept falling asleep.
Fair enough. He was also in Once Upon a Time
Hey,
and Stargate. Those are his big three.
what was he in Once Upon a Time?
An unnamed elf.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Because here's the thing, in the episode that we just watched him in, he was actually a child.
Right.
But I don't know if you could tell from watching him as a child that he is a little person.
I could not, but that totally tracks because my first thought about seeing him, because all we see is like this fuzzy thing, I was like, is it a Care Bear? Is it an Ewok?
I have to know people.
Because I always saw his fuzziness.
Yes.
Right?
So he is a little person. He and because of that, he like most of his roles were like elves and munchkins and aliens and like just it's one of those unfortunate like careers of
Times in
uh,
life.
yeah. He was also in a band called the Wicks. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I tried to research them, but they haven't posted a single post on their website since 2018. So like that didn't help me at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got.
Great. Great.
Yeah. But we start with an unknown arrival at the gate. And no one has given an iris code, so they don't know who it is, and they try to close the iris, as they always do, but then the iris opens on its own. In that opening scene, though, one thing I want to make a note about is that someone didn't really know how to film an episode of TV, because in the beginning, before the gate opens and you're just sitting in the room, they're not usually when the gate opens unknown like from an unknown thing. We're in a scene with like Jack and Teal'c and somebody they're doing things. They didn't have a pre-story thing for the team to do this episode.
Right.
So instead, we start with these two people just like standing on the ramp to the Stargate, holding tools in their hands with no concept of how to use them. And one of them's a doctor and one of them's like a mechanic, and it literally doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then the gate opens and they disappear and a F ton of soldiers run it. Like it was quite literally a we don't know how to start the story, so we're just gonna do something.
Jump right in with some weird stuff.
It was confusing. My mom was like, "That what are they
Yeah.
doing?" I go, they don't know either. Clearly you can tell because that man doesn't even know what the thing in his hand is.
Yeah, I started it over when we like really got into it because I was like, did I miss something? Like
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
I didn't miss anything.
So the iris starts to open on its own. Hammond is like, close it. So they do, and then it opens on its own again. And they're very confused.
Yeah.
And then an Ewok walks through the gate.
And I said, is it a big Ewok? Is it a Care Bear? No, unfortunately, it's a child.
And here's the thing. They pan up from the floor to the head to show us that it's a child because it's only so tall. But like Courtney said, he's wearing quite literally like fuzzy pajamas with like a leather hood. It straight up is an Ewok pajama outfit. Like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you go to like I'm gonna buy themed pajamas for my kids in the 70s and here is an Ewok onesie. That's what he was wearing.
yeah. But only from the 70s. Like it wasn't like it was updated.
No, it was still like the first Ewok merch that came out when Return of the Jedi first came out. Like it was,
Right.
yeah. The Ewok is actually a small child, is my note. Um, and they're trying to figure out what it's doing. And so Jack's like, well, maybe we should have Carter do the initial like search because she can sense stuff. That's literally what he says.
I guess you're not wrong, but maybe sound a little smarter when you say it, I guess. Like,
Yeah. But also, I have one huge issue with this scene, and that is that Teal'c is with them.
right, right.
Because
Like,
then, because A, Sam is not the only one who can sense gold.
yeah,
And B, there are things that happen later in the episode that make it clear that Teal'c was never around the child,
right.
but Teal'c was in the room for this.
Yes, yes.
So, maybe 6.5.
Yeah. We'll
Just
just
because
knock it down as it
there's
goes.
every time something stupid happens, I take a point off.
Right. I'm in. It'll be like 2.2 when we get done, but it's fine.
It's fine. It's not a good episode. And I mean, I feel bad because it wasn't like a bad episode, it just also wasn't a good episode. And we've had so many good episodes this season that I'm like, ugh,
Why this?
ugh.
And like being at they planned for the first two seasons to be the first two seasons. And it's like
Yeah.
we're at the end of the second season and this is where we are. Like
Right. We're on
we're trying
episode
to make sure we have another
20.
season and you're coming out with this.
Yeah, we're on episode 20. There are 2 episodes left. It is the end of February. You're getting ready for March and for sweeps, and you're telling me this is what you put on? Yes. Um, so I wrote so she can use her Gould Spidey sense.
That's exactly what it is. I'm
Um,
stealing.
Sam does her little tests and he's clean. Um, and she's trying to talk to him, and Jack is like, okay, but if he's not Gold, why is he there? And he finally speaks and he's like, I'm here to warn you. Credits.
And I was like, okay, we're getting a little better coming to the credits though. This felt like a really
Yeah, I was like for one brief moment, I felt like there was weight.
I know, I was like, okay, who's directing this? Where are we going? Nowhere. The answer is
No,
nowhere.
the
But
answer. um,
a brief glimmer of hope for a second.
so after the credits, we go to the infirmary where Janet is testing the boy, and he's human, but he's like very sick. And no, this is not where she says something. She says something later that I thought was like the most profound
Yeah.
explanation, but it's not here because I took a note of it. So when she's trying to like talk about how sick he is, the boy is like, Colonel O'Neill, and he's like, how the fuck do you know who I am?
Kids are creepy, dude. Like, ugh, kids.
And he's like, oh, my mother says that I can only speak to you. And he keeps
Very
looking at this
naughty.
invisible thing in this room in the room. And I was like, listen, I just watched an episode of Bates Motel. I can't handle you talking to your invisible mother. I'm having fucking PTSD.
Same, because I always watch them in the order we recorded.
Me too.
I just finished Bates and I was like, it's another
No.
Norman Bates. This kid's creepy. He's dangerous. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And then he says that his mother has been observing them for some time. But and I did appreciate this, because Jack's team was the only team who did not want to steal the minerals from Tanane, he's the only one that they can trust.
Which
And
one was?
Tanane was the spirits, the Native
Oh
American
yeah, 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 yeah.
spirits, and Tanane and his minerals and the spirit gods. And I was like, nice to call back to an episode that literally didn't matter. I appreciated that at least.
Very true. I was like, you're gonna know where it goes back to.
So he asks to speak to Jack alone, says he can't tell them anything else until he's alone. And they all leave the room and leave him alone with Jack. And Jack's like, what's your name? And he's like, I don't have a name. Mother just calls me son. And he was like, you have a son?
I was like, what? Are we doing this? What is happening?
And he's like, what's your son's name? And Jack was like, Charlie. He goes, can I be Charlie too? I was like,
Stop. I was like, you are ruining Jack right now.
It ends up being really sweet and cute, and by the end, like I appreciate him, but in this moment, I was like, "What is? Don't know. You can't be Charlie. What is
You're not Charlie.
aliens coming back across the Stargate and taking Charlie's identity? Like, how many times is Jack gonna have to deal with that?"
Like Charlie from The Shining, not Charlie from Jack's life.
Um, so Charlie says he's from a planet where there's a species called the Ritu. And they were mostly destroyed by the Goa'uld, but now there are rebels on that planet who want to eliminate all of Earth.
So the Ritu are not one of the five species, right?
No, they are not.
They're just like another alien.
Yeah.
I thought there were just five aliens.
No, the alliance of the five aliens, because remember the five.
It's like the Allies and the Axis. I get it.
Yeah, no, the tie. I mean, because the Goa'uld aren't part of those five,
That's true too.
and like humans are only part of the five, like recently, because it used to only be four. And there's like that little parasite aliens we've met, and we've met that like crystal alien species,
That's
and so like yeah, there's tons of aliens out there that are just not these aliens. And like, what about those fucking white guys that we saw last week?
what was last week? Oh my gosh. Our snowball men?
The snowball men.
Wild.
So
Wild.
yeah, so aliens exist whether they're the intelligent ones or not.
It's just never ending. They're gonna catch me off guard every time there's a new alien. Like the minds of these people. Jonathan
Yeah.
Cox.
Um, so they have a briefing, and they're talking about what to do about this small child, and they have decided that his visions or him talking to his mom is probably a result of psychological trauma, which again, too close to Bates, did not
Oh,
appreciate it. They're like, yeah, it's a psychological trauma and trauma response, but also there's clearly something else going on because he knows like all of the info.
right. Like he also knows everything about you.
And like Daniel's like, how did he know about something like to do with like an actual mission? Oh, about I think about Tanane, and they're like, how did he know about Charlie? Like, let's
Right. Like it makes way more sense that he knows about a mission than knowing about Jack's son who passed away.
yeah,
Like especially because like if they've been observing them at the base, like they've talked about that at the base. They probably haven't talked about Charlie at the base recently.
right. So they decide that they're just gonna keep an eye on him, and Teal'c and Jack go to see him, and he goes absolute ape shit about the Jaffa, and he's like, Jaffa wants to kill me, and Jack's like, no, 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 like this one doesn't. He's a good Jaffa, and they're like, there's no such thing. And so Jack is like, Mother, wherever you are, please, if you trust me, trust Teal'c.
Also, like this is the exact reaction every time Teal'c walks in the room for any species that's not a Jaffa. Like
Yeah,
we get
yeah, yeah. Um, so like Teal comes in closer to like actually meet him, and then he like gets all eye bulgy and is like, I have to leave. Runs out of the room,
it. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
which is concerning.
Yes, that is exactly what I was about to say.
So Jack follows him and he's like, what is going on? And Teal tells Jack that he's never in his life felt such a disturbed symbiote. And he thinks that there's something very off about the child.
He's dangerous.
Yeah. Um, and then Janet said, this is where Janet says something that I found to be like weirdly the most profound like thing.
I'll
She
go
was
Janet.
like, she was like, while we've determined that he's not like a threat, there's clearly something off about him because she said it feels like Mother Nature put him together in a hurry and got everything wrong.
Yep. I was like, that is such a good like description.
Right. Like I was like, that is 10 out of 10 writing.
Uh-huh.
So that line puts us back at 7.5.
And like Sir, who dissed Janet a couple weeks ago, I will always tell you how wrong you are about my girl Janet.
Correct. She is, yeah, we do not talk badly about Janet in this house.
Absolutely not.
Um, so he's dying basically, and he has like a weirdly intense brain scan. Like there's like a part of his brain that has like is like double the size of what it's supposed to be, and he like is in renal failure, and like a bunch of the other things in his body like don't work.
Super dying. It's very
Yeah,
super.
he's like super dying. Um, so Jack tries to like figure Charlie out, and he says that the Ritu like they basically discover that the Ritu want to try and kill the Goa'uld by attrition.
Mm-hmm.
So the best way to do that is to destroy Earth to get rid of the largest pool of possible hosts.
Right.
Which of course, Teal brings up the fact that Goa'uld don't need human hosts; they just prefer human hosts.
Right.
And that this is just a bad idea. Charlie and his mother agree that it's a bad idea, and that's why they've come to Earth to try to help SGC stop this from happening.
Right.
And then Daniel, who very rarely does the correct information digging, does actually do the correct information digging this time. And he asks Charlie if he is Ritu.
Yeah.
And he's not. He said, but
I like how
but
I would like to like think about that. I was like, why is he?
no, I just forgot what I was saying. Like my brain
No.
turned off. He is not. And his but his mother is, and she created him to serve as an intermediary. But the rapid growth made his organs fail. So he had to come see them as a child instead of being able to grow up to be an adult.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, while he might not have realized it, him coming as a child actually was better because if he came in as an adult, they would have immediately just assumed he was some kind of weird spy.
Yeah, but now they at least like feel bad for him and they like
Yeah.
take care of him.
So then we have a lot of fucking weird science conversations that I did not understand, where they figured out that the Ritu are invisible, but
Yeah. Like
they can.
go 180 degrees to this certain angle. I was like,
They were they're talking about 180 degrees out of phase and like atomic planes and operating systems in our phase versus not our phase. And I was like, I watch science fiction because space is cool, not because I've ever understood science in my life.
right.
I like stars. I barely passed physics. Like I don't know what we're talking about right now.
I also like stars and I like fake science. So I don't need to know real science.
Yeah. This conversation, basically, the more my brain starts to hurt, the more it also upsets Mother, who explodes a computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Norma Bates of her.
Very Norma Bates per. Then the team is discussing how to deal with an invisible enemy, and Teal'c reminds them that if his symbiote can detect them, the Goa'uld could too, so they wouldn't be entirely invisible to the Goa'uld. And so then the team goes, oh, well then obviously we need the Tok'ra to help us because we can't see shit without the Goa'uld.
Right.
So they call the Tok'ra, and Jacob comes to help them, as he does. It's very nice to see Jacob again.
Yep, I love Jacob.
And then
Selmac,
what's that?
Selmac, I like him too.
Oh yeah, and Selmac too. So Selmac is like, okay, we will help you, but I need you to send the other Tok'ra back. I thought it was for good, but it was to get supplies.
Yeah, no.
So they go to see Charlie, and he reacts the same way to Jacob that he did to Teal'c, but Jacob also reacts the same way to Charlie that Teal'c did. So
They do technically still have the same symbiote in them. It's just
yeah. So the other Tok'ra has come back with weapons that, and I struggled here because the closed captions said something different than the voice said, and it threw me off because Jacob says we can use this weapon to illuminate the Ritu. The closed caption said we can use this weapon to eliminate
So
the
I
Ritu.
read the closed captioning and didn't understand what he said in the audio because I don't always catch everything audio.
Yeah,
And so I was like, they're getting ready to kill everyone.
right. I did too until I continued watching, and then I had to pause and retake my notes because I was like, that's literally not what he said. It couldn't be because the next scene doesn't make sense if eliminate is the word he used.
I had a lot
And
of
the,
confusion in the next scene.
and then I listened to it again because I had rewound and I was like, oh, illuminate. Got it. It's like the same word, only definitely not.
Like very different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know why that's the word they chose to like show and
Use it with
reveal, show. There's lots of words. Illuminate sounds better, I guess. Um, also sounds like eliminate. So we're a little
like
thrown off.
illuminate. It's kind of like they brought them back into the light. So like illuminate does make sense.
Oh, no, no. It is technically a synonym of what they are doing. Just not the word choice I would have used
And
in the context.
I would have used it because it feels like they're lighting it up, which is illuminating. But
Yeah, well, it also sounded like they're lighting it up like with a shotgun.
no,
Like,
yeah, no, I would have just made sure it was much clearer than closed captioning seemed to think it
yeah.
was.
Um, Sam was like, okay, you can show us, but you can't kill him.
Right.
So,
It,
when they finally illuminate this Ritu, we see what could only be described as a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers villain.
yes.
Is a fucking gigantic bug that was about to turn into a fucking like
Mhm.
what does she say? What does Rita say when she makes the monsters grow? I think she just says grow my monsters and then they get bigger and then we have to become a mega droid. Anyway, sorry. Weird. I'm having a moment. But so this Power Rangers villain
Yeah.
um is there. And Jack apologizes to Charlie for like not believing him and asks him and his mom to stay there in the room.
And he's like, I would never lie to you. And he's like, I get that now.
Yep. You're quite literally an alien that I've never seen before. Forgive me for not trusting you immediately.
Right, right.
So they figure out that Charlie must have been engineered in a lab and used to communicate with them since they can't see the Ritu. And Jacob and Selmak inform us that the Ritu are a mostly peaceful race, but the Goa'uld destroyed them because they were a threat, because you can't see them, and because the symbiotes are freaked out by them. So the Chokra have a device that could kill them. And they decide that they need to try to go to the rebels and kill them first. And Daniel is like, hey, this feels like a bad idea.
Right. And like for the first time in his life, he is correct. It's a
Yeah,
bad. Yeah.
yeah. It was pretty heavy-handed in the foreshadowing there that Daniel was like, what if they sneak back with us since, we can't see them?
Yeah.
And Jacob's like, they only ever work in like terrorist squads. There's 5 of them at a time. There won't be more than 10 on the planet. It'll be fine.
Everything. No problem.
No problems. So Jack goes to see Charlie and figure out where they can go to find the Ritu rebels. And Charlie tells them that Mother was going to leave as soon as she's given all the information she can, but she wants to leave Charlie there. And Charlie's like, can I stay with you, Jack?
Like, did Jack just get a child?
And Jack's like, listen, after we deal with the Ritu, we'll talk about it. We'll figure it out. But Jack also kind of knows that he's dying. So
Right.
like, and because it wouldn't be the most traumatic thing in the world for Jack to have another kid die.
Of course, yeah.
Um, So Mother says that she'll show them the address and they send the Melp in with the TER device, which is the thing that shows the illumination. And they check for the Ritu. The immediate area around the gate is clear, so SG-1 and the Tok'ra go in. Well, and they find
SG-12? Did they take SG-12 too?
yeah, they took somebody else with them also. And despite being sure that the rebels work in groups of 5 to 10, there's about a fucking billion of them on this planet.
Yeah, yeah. Just
So
more than 5 or 10.
yeah. So they go back and they're like, well, we're pretty sure that none of them followed us because as soon as we got back here, um, we stopped having agitated symbiotes. So I
Right,
mean, obviously they came back with them.
right, of course.
Um, but just to be sure, they add iris and palm scanners into the control systems so that you have to have a hand to be able to control the Stargate system.
Which is helpful.
It is pretty helpful. Although it does, I think, go against the American with Disabilities Act.
You
I
know, you're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong.
think it's a little ableist.
It is.
Um, but also, I think in this context, I can see them winning a court case about it.
Yep, I could also see that. It's like, okay, well, but also like if you think about it, like the Nox have hands. Like Jaffa have hands.
Yeah, but do they, I mean, Jaffa have hands that have like palms. It wouldn't actually stop the Goa'uld who have
Right.
human hosts, but like, I mean, the Nox have hands, but do they have like human palms? Probably not. We don't know. Because like Thor and the Asgardians' hands aren't gonna work on the palm
But they're
scanner.
aliens.
So are the Nox.
But they're different. They're people aliens.
Kind of. They look like Harry Potter goblins. They're just not short.
They look kind of like elves
Yeah.
or the rings.
Yeah. I don't know. So I don't know. But while working in the control room, Teal'c starts freaking out. And so Sam like calls down to the infirmary. She's like, "Is Charlie there?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like, "And Mom is with him?" And they're like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, so there's like definitely another Ritu in here."
They're like, okay, red button. Great.
Yeah. And that Ritu attacks the Tok'ra, and Teal'c takes it out in response, but turns out there's a ton more.
Right. It's never just
Yay! No. So they split up and they searched the base for the rebels. And I did not take a lot of notes about the actual like action scene of them like splitting up and like walking around the base and seeing things, but like basically it's like a Scooby-Doo hunt for the masked villain, only less cartoony.
right. Like it was very much like it made me think of the scenes where they're going through the Darth Vader section, like sneaking
Mm,
around.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So they're losing soldiers, people are dying. Jacob gets hurt, but like not badly enough that Selmak couldn't heal him. Sam kills a Ritu. Teal kills a Ritu. Everybody's going after the Ritu. Jack and Daniel follow one into the infirmary. And Mother helps them kill the rebels, but unfortunately, one of the Ritu also shoots Mother.
Yeah, I got so like mixed up in this scene. I was like, did
Hmm.
Daniel Jackson shoot Mother? Like, did Mother even get shot? What happened? Like,
So what happened was they go in there, they go to shoot the Ritu and they miss, but Mother kills the Ritu.
right,
Daniel recognizes that it's Mother, tells everyone to stop shooting, and the second rebel that's in the room shoots Mother. And so
Got
then they get the second rebel at that moment. So no, the Ritu killed Mother, but everybody is all the Ritu, including Mother, are now dead.
it. Right, that makes sense.
Um, Charlie like starts dying immediately.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna now die without Mother.
It's gonna be so upsetting.
That's what I thought happened was like, you know how sometimes when you like, this is not real life. So when you sometimes create like a second one of you, if you die, it dies too.
Right. See,
So that's
so then Jacob is like, listen, we'll take him back to the Toker homeworld. We'll be able to save him. The symbiote will be able to like fix the organ damage that he has from not being like really human. And it'll be the only way for that he'll ever be able to grow up.
I was like, oh yay, the Toker are gonna save him.
And then he and Jack have a very emotional and touching goodbye that like made me cry a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
well, that was sweet.
I was also way too late at night last night for me to be watching it, so that's probably why I cried, to be fair. Um, but Jack promised he'd come visit and that the little kid could visit him.
His new son Charlie.
And unfortunately, I can tell you that will never happen.
Oh great, good. So thrilled. So thrilled. We have another loose end that never happens.
Yeah, because one of the trivia for this episode is that despite seeming like it's a setup for a solid new villain, the Ritu will never make another appearance.
I was gonna ask that. I was gonna ask that. Great. I
Um,
thought
I don't want to like I don't love spoiling things for you, but there are some things I just don't want to get your hopes up. They're not
no,
going
I
that
was
way.
gonna ask if you didn't tell me. So like
Yeah.
I think that's a fair like that doesn't feel like a real spoiler because you're not telling
Yeah. I'm not telling you the content of anything that's to come. I'm just making sure you don't expect to ever see them
I
again.
mean, we're like at the end of season two. And that's kind of how I expect things now.
Yeah.
Like that was cool. I'm never gonna see that person or that event ever again. Cool.
I mean, to be fair, the Tok'ra have been in what 5 or 6 episodes this season,
I
and
mean,
it's
to be
been like, and
fair,
it's like the same ones too. So like,
well, to be fair, we're never gonna see Sharae again. So like, whatever. Ugh, it's a mess.
um, uh, there's a cameo. The director is in it at some point. He's a boy, or he's the soldier at the gunnery station looking at the boy coming through the Stargate. Right? That is not.
Good for him. Good for him.
Um, the device used to summon the Tok'ra is the same one that's used to summon the Nox in Enigma. The
Because
scene
it's the
where
one
the scene
that they gave them, right?
yeah, because it's the Tolan, and they talk about it in the last episode that the Tok'ra were there. They talk about using the Tolan to call them, but the actual scene where it shows Sam and Daniel shooting the thing up to like into the space, that's literally just this exact same footage spliced into this episode. It's not,
Oh,
they did not film it again. Like,
wait.
it's the exact same footage. And that is all the trivia I have. So, um, who would you like to punch?
The Ritu rebels for killing Mother.
That's fair. Um, I think I would like to punch uh Jacob, not because he wasn't good and he did great things and he was wonderful, but he was so sure of this tactical knowledge of the Ritu, despite having both a Goa'uld brain and a US military brain. The idea that they would switch it up never occurred to him, and that feels a little,
Unrealistic.
yeah.
Fair. Fair.
So just a quick tap on the chin for that poor mistake there. Um, Who is your MVP?
Jack. He really stepped up. He did good things.
Mine, I considered Jack, but Jack was actually not my first choice.
Okay.
So it was okay that you had him. My first choice was surprisingly Daniel Jackson. But because even though nobody listened to him,
He
for
was right.
once, he was right and logical the entire episode.
That's true. That's true. First time, probably the last. See what happens.
Yeah, he did not fall in love with anyone.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He did not try to make friends with the invisible bug aliens. He just called it like he saw it the whole time.
Yeah, totally fair.
That was,
Absolutely good choice.
yep. So, two more episodes. And then I actually have some exciting news about what comes next for the Stargate ordeals.
I already know it. I was like, what is it? I already know.
Well, no, you don't actually, because this is news to you as well. So, for some of you may have known that Courtney and I discussed trying to do the entire Stargate universe as a single entity. And that in order to do that, we actually missed something in the beginning. And we have to go back and watch a web series that is called Stargate Origins that was originally like, I think, 8 or 9 10-minute episodes. And so we were going to do that after season 2. But my mom was looking on Amazon for Stargate the other day to watch the episodes that we're doing on the podcast. And she found listed under Stargate a movie called Origins Catherine. And what happened was they took the web series and they reformatted it as a single movie instead of individual minisodes.
Okay.
So we will still be doing Origins after season 2, but it will be 1 week where we do a movie event instead of a bunch of mini-sode episodes. So we will only have the season 2 wrap up and then the movie, and then we'll go into season 3.
So we get a movie in between your seasons this
So
time.
we'll get a movie in between my seasons. It'll just be a Stargate movie.
Well, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah, but no, so yes, you didn't know that news either, that Origins is now packaged as a single film on Amazon.
That's incredible. That's great. I like it that way.
Yes, yes.
Makes the most sense.
So that will be sometime in January. We will be watching that movie.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Although, to be fair, it is January because it is January 1st, 2023, when this episode is premiering.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year! It is for sure not that day while we're recording this, but it is. We've made it to 2023. Do you have a New Year's resolution? I guess I should probably wait until it's actually 2023 to talk about that. But like this episode is 2023. Do we
Look, my
have?
New Year's resolution is just to make it. I just want to take a nap.
I am putting this on the podcast
Okay.
so that it is in the universe forever, and it is on tape, and people will listen to it, including my boyfriend. If I am not engaged by the end of 2023, I'm gonna throw an absolute fucking riot.
I love it. Well, I'm also going to put it into the universe. I'm going to get my book finished and pitched to publishers and get a raise at my job.
We're speaking it into the universe. We're putting it in existence.
To Web3. I don't know what that means. We're really trying to learn about it in the music business, though. So,
yeah, no, I don't know anything.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I know nothing. But what I do know is that we are always available to talk on email at deafandaliens@gmail.com on all of the social media at Death and Aliens, particularly. I'm a Twitter person, really. Like, that is where you should try to find, talk to me.
I will
Um,
talk to you on Instagram.
yeah. Um, you can follow me personally anywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And we will see you guys for our first Bates Motel episode of 2023 in on
Ultimate
Thriller
episode.
Thursday.
Woo!
It's gonna be something
It's a wild one, guys.
wild.
Eek. It's gonna be fun. Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.